Now she is the author of Paris, the memoir, along with Republican Congressman Buddy Carter, who is co-sponsoring this bill. And it's great to have you both here. And Paris, when you talked, you've said how difficult it was to speak so personally about something that happened to you and what you went through. When you look at what the stakes are of getting this bill passed, what would you say?
I'd say the stakes are high. There's been hundreds of children who have died in these places, and 20 within the time that I have been fighting for this bill. So this is extremely important and extremely personal to me as well.
And you've made so many trips here to Washington to advocate for this, and people seeing you in a role that maybe they're not used to seeing you in, and talking about, just what you went through and the effect that that had on you.
Yes, it's been very emotional to come and speak because it is very difficult and traumatizing to talk about so many things that I just tried to forget. But just knowing that there's hundreds of thousands of children being sent to these places every year, including foster youth and children with disabilities, and to know what's happening behind closed doors is so heartbreaking. So I'm going to do everything in my power to make a difference.
As a mom, has that changed how you view this even more so?
Yes. I brought my son Phoenix with me here to D.C., so he's had his first trip here. And just looking in his innocent eyes, I can't imagine sending him to a school and the things that happened to myself and so many others happened to him. So I will just continue fighting even harder for the future of my children and all the children in the world.
Congressman, what does this look like, the future of this in the House? Because it's so rare for lawmakers to agree on anything. Obviously, we saw it come through the Senate. What is going to happen in the House with a bill that means so much to her?
Well, we're very optimistic that it's going to be on the floor this week and that we're going to get it done before we leave Washington, and very excited about that. I think it has the votes. I think the votes are there to get it passed and pass the Senate unanimously. And after all, who wouldn't vote for this? Protection for our children. We all love our children. We all want what's best for them. And this legislation will give accountability, will give oversight, and it will give parents the tools that they need to make an informed decision about whether they want to send their children here or not.
Yeah, and you say that, and it sounds like common sense. And maybe people are at home saying, well, yeah, why can't that happen? But we know how Washington works. You do as well as I do. Things that seem logical do not always happen.
Well, when it involves children, a lot of times it does, though. I still have confidence in Congress and members of Congress, and I have confidence in this legislation. And if it is brought before a vote, and I think it will be, I'm very confident it's going to get passed.
You two are clearly in agreement on this and both advocating for it and fighting for it. What have your conversations been like with other lawmakers when maybe they're not familiar with a story like yours? I think a lot of people probably aren't. And how do you just get across to them the effect that it did have on you and what it means?
I've been coming back and forth to D.C. telling my story, and everyone who I've spoken to is just in shock. They can't believe that these types of things are happening to children. And I think hearing from someone who's had lived experience makes all the difference. And every time I come, I also bring so many other survivors to tell their stories, to say it didn't just happen back when I was a teenager, it's still happening today, and now it's boomed into a $23 billion a year industry with taxpayers' money. And people just need to understand what's happening in these places. And I'm so proud to be able to be the voice for the voiceless.
How does that feel to have gone through something that was so devastating, but to find yourself using that experience to try to stop anyone else from going through that?
It's been the most healing and empowering experience of my life. And even though it was the most horrific and horrible thing that anyone could go through, I feel that maybe God made me go through it and gave me this special gift and this platform to be able to be the hero that I needed when I was a little girl.
And is Mike Johnson going to bring this to the floor?
I'm very optimistic that he will, yes.
Actually, I got a call from Leader Scalise, and he said they're going to be bringing it to the floor tomorrow at 5:30 p.m.
That's some news that you just made here, Paris Hilton. Thank you so much for making that news and for sharing your story. I know it's difficult, but I really appreciate it. Congressman, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Great to have you both here.